So here is my recipe. It's a casserole dish. I'm not 100% sure what the name is officially called, but I got it off the Campbell soup recipe. I will try to find the recipe and link it down below, as I just kind of play it by ear, but I do know the correct measurements off by heart, so I will tell you. So you're going to need a casserole dish. You don't really need the lid. I just have the lid there. You're going to need chicken. If you want to make this a vegetarian meal, you can. Egg noodles, although I've used pasta noodles before and it's turned out fine. These are the ones that I purchased. And then you're going to need some kind of cream of something soup. It calls for cream of mushroom, but Richard doesn't like mushrooms, so I just use cream of broccoli or cream of celery or cream of chicken. You're going to need 4 cups of vegetables. I only had 2 cups here just because I was trying to use it up. And then you're going to use a 1/4 cup of milk. I have almond milk, so that's what I used. And then what I do is I spray the frying pan with some kind of oil. I've been using coconut oil these days. And I'm just going to spray the pan so that the chicken doesn't stick. And then I'm going to cut up my chicken into little chunks like this. I wish I had skinless chicken breasts, but I didn't. This is what was on sale, so I picked it up, which is fine, but it's just, you know, easier when you don't have to worry about the bone and you can just cut it up. So that's what I did. I cut up all the chicken I had, which was 3 breasts, chop that all up, and I'm going to add that in the frying pan and let that cook on at, like, I have my dial set between 5 and 6 on the stove, and that always seems to work best for me. Now I'm just going to fill up my pot of water. I'm going to fill this pot up halfway full. Whatever your pot size is, just make sure that your noodles are covered in the water. You don't want the noodles to be showing. And then I'm just going to bring the pot to the stove and let that cook. And then my chicken is getting brown, so I'm just going to stir that up a little bit. I did chop up some of the chicken pieces a little bit smaller. With my spatula, I did find them to be a little bit big. And while that is going on, I'm just going to add my vegetables, my milk, and my soup, or my cream of celery soup. I'm not even sure which one I used. I just know I didn't use mushroom. It also calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. I never put it in. I'm just not a fan of salt and pepper, so Richard just puts that in after for himself on his plate. It also calls for Parmesan cheese, a 1/4 cup Parmesan cheese. I didn't have Parmesan cheese, so I didn't use it, and it's turned out fine before. I was trying to be lazy and not get a spoon, but the soup was being stubborn with me, so I ended up having to get a spoon and scoop that out. So I'm going to do this and mix it all up while my chicken is cooking and my water is boiling for the noodles. It doesn't matter if the chicken is cooked before or if the noodles are ready before the chicken and the chicken gets cold, because you are going to be putting it in the oven and it's just going to heat up again anyways. So don't worry about that. So I'm just going to finish my soup and get that all in. And then my water is boiling, so I'm going to add my noodles in, which are the egg noodles, and you can find them at any grocery store. They're not really hard to find, but just remember, I have used regular noodles before, and I've never had a problem with them. Taste-wise, I think they don't taste too different. And then you're just going to cook it for 10 to 12 minutes. I find egg noodles do have to be cooked a little bit longer. I'm not sure why, but they do. And then my chicken is all nice and brown and ready to go. So I'm just going to add that into my mixture while my noodles cook. And I'm going to stir that all up and get ready for the noodles. So now my water and my noodles are all ready. My timer did go off. And I'm just going to pour it into my my strainer. Kind of go slow, don't go too fast, just because it can splash up hot water and steam. And then what I do is I put my strainer on top of my pot, so I just let whatever excess water needs to come out. And then put that on my back on my oven, and then I'm going to slowly add the noodles into my big bowl. Make sure you use a big enough bowl if you are going to use this recipe. Cut it in half if you don't want to use this much, because it does make a lot. Only use half the bag if you don't want to use all the noodles, but just make sure your bowl is big enough so it can hold everything, because that would suck if you didn't have a big enough bowl. So now I'm just going to stir this all up. This is the final step really before I put it in the oven, and I'm just going to mix it all up, and then I'm going to add it into my 2 casserole dishes that I got. This is when I noticed that it was too dry enough. I forgot how much noodles actually cook. you know, when you actually cook them and they expand. So I ended up adding another can of soup. I'm not sure if it was the same as the first one. It's really not a big deal if you use, say, 1 can of chicken, cream of chicken, and 1 can of like cream of celery. It all works out. Once again, still trying to be lazy. I should have just grabbed the spoon anyways, and I didn't. Well, I did now, but you think I've learned from the first try that the soup is not going to come out on its own. So I just decided to add one more can of soup, and then I'm going to stir that all up and add it into my casserole dishes. And you're going to put it in the oven at 400 for 25 minutes. I find that works out great with my oven. I mean, you know your oven better than me, right? So if you need to put it in for a little bit longer, go ahead, or a little bit less. It's up to you. So yeah, I'm just going to stir that all together, make sure it's all nicely even. I did end up having to stir it a little bit more after I dumped it into my first container because I did find it wasn't stirred great enough. So that's fine. I just stirred it a little bit more, and then I'm going to grab my container or my casserole dish. You don't need the lid. You can use the lid if you want. I've never done it before. Maybe it won't make your noodles crunchy, but I find when the 25 minutes are up, your top noodles are a little bit brown and they're on the crunchy side, which I like. I like that crunchiness to my casserole dish. So I'm just going to put that one aside, and then I ended up grabbing another one and play it by ear. Like I said, it's up to you how much you put in each casserole dish. I try and fill it to the top, not all the way to like the top, but you know, make it full enough. And then I just added the leftovers to the other casserole dish because I found I didn't have enough space. Now I'm just going to put it in the oven for 25 minutes, like I said, at 400. So there's my first casserole dish going in, and then I'm just going to put the other one in as well because there's enough room. So I'm just going to put that in together, and then close her on up, set my my phone because my other timer broke for 25 minutes. Away we go, and yeah, let the waiting times begin. So let's just drink some water because, you know, what else am I going to do for 25 minutes while I wait for my food to cook? No, honestly, I did not drink water for 25 minutes, but I did do some other things, and then my timer went off. So now let's check my food. Don't mind my tripod there. So let's see what deliciousness is in the oven waiting for us. Actually, honestly, we ended up going for a run after dinner, hence why you can see my tights are on and my running shoes. We ended up going just because it was getting late, and I wanted to go before the sun goes down. So here's the casserole dish all ready to go, and then what I like to do, and the recipe does call for it, I'm not sure how much cheese it calls for, but I just like to cover the top, and you're going to let that melt. It usually takes about 30 seconds. And then when we came back from our run, that's when we decided to eat our dinner. So if you can see my water and like my sweater and stuff, that is why. So yeah, I'm just sprinkling it on with cheese, and then we'll let it sit. And then after, we will enjoy our nice meal together. It was really good. I do wish I would have added different vegetables flavor-wise, but overall, it was nice to like remake this dish because I hadn't made it in so long, and I think it is so easy to make. I hope you enjoyed my first cooking video on here. I know it wasn't 100% Tone It Up to prove. Mind you, I will not do a recipe from the Tone It Up nutrition book, only because that is something you have to purchase. I have no problem remaking recipes off of their website that they post themselves, but you will not see recipe books or recipes that I've recreated in the Tone It Up nutrition book because, you know, that is me giving you essentially a free recipe. I will give you my thoughts on different recipes, but you will not see one from the recipe book. That is just my personal opinion, and I think that is right. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.